Good morning. Thank you for joining. Let's begin our session. We were now discussing about a service called Route 53. So we have seen yesterday in the previous session, we started understanding what is domain name system, and it is actually the name of the service in AWS is Route 53. We understood the name of the service. Actually, we are now talking about in AWS is Route 53. The Route 53 service talks about DNS, domain name system or domain name service. Route 53 talks about DNS, domain name system or domain name service. And we have already seen the introduction in the previous session. I think I have not uploaded that yesterday. I'll try to upload it today. Please go through it so that you will understand the complete details if anyone has missed. But let me recap for at least for a few minutes what we have seen in the previous session. Usually, what is DNS? Consider we will be sending a request to any of the servers like google.com, facebook.com, whatever it is. We'll be sending requests in the form of www.facebook.com, google.com, twitter.com. So that's how by using the domain name. These are all called domain names, www.google.com, facebook.com, twitter.com. Okay. All these are the domain names. Usually we send requests in the form of domain names only. We'll be sending requests in the form of domain names. So whatever the request that we send from the browser, if I open the browser and if I give like www.google.com, that request will first reaches to the DNS server. Need to understand the flow. We need to understand the flow. If I open the browser and if I give like www.google.com, immediately the request will goes to the DNS server. From the DNS server, what does this DNS server will do? This DNS server will converts the domain name. DNS server will converts the domain name into IP address so that we will be connecting, so that we will be sending HTTP request to that particular server. And from the server, we'll be getting the response. So usually what we will think is, so directly our request will be reaching to that particular server and we'll be getting the responses, not like that. First, our request will go to DNS. DNS will resolve it to the IP address. Now you can understand what is the purpose of DNS server or DNS. What is the use of DNS? DNS is used to convert the domain name into IP address or vice versa. See, when I am sending the domain name, it is converting into the IP address. Again, while sending the response, it again converts the IP address into domain name. So DNS will do two things. It converts the domain name into IP address. It resolves the domain name into IP address, and it also resolves the IP address into domain name, vice versa. That's what the DNS is doing, so that so that we are attaching the domain names to our applications. If I configure any application in my server, I usually access the application by using the public IP. Many times we understood, right? Many times we understood like how to install, how can we understand that then application is running. I'm just going to, right? I'm just going to EC2. Okay. I'm just taking a machine. I'm just launching a machine. I take that this is, I'm just taking server one. Okay. Assume that I'm just creating one server, which is called server one, Amazon Linux I'm using. Here, let me use t2.medium key pair. I'll be creating a new key pair. I'm just creating a new key pair. Network settings, for now, I'm going for default. I'm not going for any VPC. Okay. I'm not creating this in any of my VPC. I'm creating this in the default network settings. I'm not editing this network settings. I'm creating this server in the default network settings. Okay. Only SSH port I'm opening. At the same time, I would also like to open the HTTP port. Allow HTTP port from the internet. Okay. I'm opening two ports. One is SSH traffic, and I'm opening the HTTP port from this one. Under the advanced details, Okay, under the advanced details, whenever you configure the server, whenever you create a server, you can provide some script. You can provide some script over here, which is called as bootstrap script. So that you see, this is the script that we were using. Usually it prints the domain name, or otherwise whatever you want, you can print over there. I'm just trying to provide this script. Again, what I'm doing is here, I just wanted to print, I don't want to print this one. I just wanted to print some page like Google one. Okay. This is just, I would like to print. I'm just launching an instance. Okay. This is the script I'm providing. I'm launching an instance. This is how actually we are installing the HTTP package. This is how actually we are installing HTTP package in our server to see my application, whether I'm able to access the application or not. Okay. So now how can we access this application? So I have just installed some script. You see what does the script is saying. We already discussed about this particular script. You already know that we have already installed this particular script. Okay. So we are just installing a package of HTTPD. We are just installing a package of HTTPD. And here, if I install HTTPD package, usually uh, there will be a default page. There will be a default page called index.html. And on that first page, okay, index.html is nothing but the home page. Okay, this will be the home page. When you access this website, usually this will be the home page. So whatever you write in this index.html, usually that will be displayed. So what I'm writing is, I'm just writing some Google one, my Google one to print, okay, in the index.html page. That is what I'm doing on the in this particular script. Okay. So if I want to access this application, I just wanted to show you again why, because how we are accessing the application. You see how I am accessing my web application. Suppose if my application is running, how I am going to access it? Usually we will be accessing it with the help of, remember, we can access it with the help of this public IP. You don't need to provide any port number also. If you just provide, okay, if you just provide the IP address, you can able to access it. You need to wait for some time. Just now we launched the server. We need to wait for some time so that you can able to access it. But usually what happens is, we will not share this public IP to the, we will not share this IP address to the public. I don't want to share my IP address to the public. Why I share my IP address to the public? I don't want to share this IP address to the public. So that time what I will do is, I'll choose a domain name. Okay, I'll buy some domain name. I'll attach the domain name to this IP address. I will attach the domain name to this IP address, and I will be sharing my domain name to the public, to whoever it is. Okay, might be people accessing within the organization or outside the organization, anything. I'll be attaching the domain name, and I will be providing that domain name to the public. Okay, so that's what we are doing. So there we use the concept of DNS. Okay, this you see here, we are attaching a domain name to the IP address, and we'll be sharing the domain name to the public. So whenever they access, they use to access with the help of domain name. They will access by using domain name. Whenever they select, whenever they browse, okay, whenever they browse with the help of domain name, the domain name will be converted to this IP address. Okay, for example, I'm going to attach a domain name called vamsicloud.com. Okay, for example, I'm just taking an example. Okay, let's take an example of vamsicloud.com. I want to attach this domain to my application. Usually now I'm able to access my application with the help of public IP. I'm just refreshing to see if my application is accessing or not. If it is not accessing, I already told you, you have to go here to the security groups. Make sure that security groups, all the firewalls are opened in the security groups or not. I'm just opening the security groups to see if my firewalls are open. Edit the inbound rules. If these are opened, yes, actually these are opened, but I'm trying to make it as where IPv4, I'm saving this. Okay. Let's wait for some time. Actually, we should be able to access. Okay, we have attached We have launched a server. You can see here, I'm just going to the EC2 dashboard. We have launched a server, and usually it is taking some time. Okay. Mm. And here I have provided the script. I have taken t2.medium server only. Consider that our application is able, we were able to access our application with the help of this IP address. What I'm going to do is I would like to attach my domain name, this domain name to the IP address. What is the public IP here? You can see. What is the public IP? This is my IP address. To this IP address, I will be converting, okay, to this public IP, I will be attaching this domain name. How we are going to do it in the AWS? That's what we would like to talk about now. How we are going to do this, how we are going to do this thing in the AWS cloud. Okay. So, for example, see here what I'm doing is, for example, let's talk about let's talk about the routing policies. We have already discussed about the routing policies yesterday. We have discussed about the routing policies. What are the different types of routing policies we have seen? These are the routing policies that we have seen yesterday. Simple routing policy, weighted routing policy, simple weighted, latency, failover, geolocation. These are the different types of routing policies we had. What is simple routing policy? Simple routing policy is nothing but adding the domain name to our IP address. Adding the domain name to our IP address is nothing but simple routing policy. So let's understand how we are going to do it in the practicals. So for that, what I'm doing is I'm just trying to see if my application is accessible or not. So able to access this. Let me launch one more. Okay, no problem. If it is not, even if it is not accessible also, that's not a problem. I will show you like how we are going to add those things. So consider this is the server, but if it is accessible that we can see everything in the practicals. I'm just going to terminate this instance. Why? Because we are not able to see the response from this IP address. Okay, what I will do is now I will try by creating one more server. Okay, let me create one more server and I will do the same thing and I will be proceeding with the remaining things. What actually we need to do to see uh, all these things. Okay, I'm just going for launching another instance. I'm just naming it as my server one. I'll be naming it as my server one. What is the image I'm choosing here? I'll be choosing the image called Amazon Linux. You can, for now, we are going with the instance called t2.medium. Okay. For now, we'll be choosing an instance type called t2.medium and I'll be choosing the key pair. The existing key pair only I will be selecting. For now, I am not modifying any network settings. Okay. I'm not modifying any network settings. For now, I'll go for default. I'm going for advanced details. Under the advanced details, what I will do is I will be providing the same script here. I'll be providing the same script here, which I had earlier. I'll be copying the same script as it is. Just going for launching an instance. That's it. Okay. Okay. I have launched a server. What I will do is after launching the server, what we need to do is I need to go for a load balancer. What I am doing, I have a server. Try to understand clearly. I have a server. Okay, let me explain you what I'm going to do is I will be creating a server where my application is running. I've created a server. Otherwise, you can attach two servers also. That's not a problem. Okay. For now, I am attaching only one server. Consider we have two servers where our application is running, and I'm going to attach a load balancer. Okay. Consider these are the two servers I'm having. I will be taking two servers, or otherwise, I will be taking only one server. I can attach that to the load balancer. Usually, we will be using load balancer if we have more than one servers. Okay. Consider I have two servers and I have attached the two servers to my load balancer. What is load balancer? This one, the middle one. Okay, this is load balancer. And whenever, okay, we can, whenever the request comes from the outside, the request will be reaching to the load balancer. Load balancer will divert the traffic to the EC2 instances. These are the target machines. Okay, if any traffic comes from the outside, load balancer receives the traffic and routes the traffic to the EC2 machines. Now, what I am doing is by using Route 53, suppose, okay, the same scenario we are using, but we are adding one more thing called Route 53. We are not, I don't want to share the public IPR load balancer URL. I don't want to share my load balancer URL, right? I don't want to share my load balancer URL. What I would like to do is I want to configure Route 53. Now I will be configure Route 53. So what I'll be doing is I will be attaching this Route 53. I'll be attaching the domain name to this load balancer URL. Okay, no confusions. This is what? This is load balancer. And this is EC2 1. Okay, consider this is EC2 server 1, EC2 instance, and this is also one EC2 instance we have. This is also another EC2 instance we have. What I will be doing is I have a load balancer. I will be attaching my Route 53. Okay, I'm going to attach my domain name. Okay, I'll be attaching the domain name to this Route 53 at the same time. Okay, while attaching the domain name, we can also with the help of the service called DNS. Okay, with the help of this Route 53 service in AWS, we have some other routing policies. DNS is providing us many routing policies. There are many advantages with the Route 53. There are some routing policies like simple routing policy, weighted routing policy, like that. We'll see the differences. Let's go ahead and proceed. I have just created EC2 instance. For now, I am creating only one EC2 instance. For now, I am creating only one EC2 instance. You know how to attach the load balancer, how to create a load balancer, and how to attach the load balancer to the EC2 instances. If you revise our previous sessions, you'll understand where is the load balancer in the EC2 dashboard only. Go to the load balancer, create one load balancer. Okay. So, you know, for our application, for the example that we have taken, classic load balancer is suitable. I'm going for classic load balancer. I'm just providing the name of the load balancer as my load balancer. I'm just going with internet facing, default VPC. I'm selecting the availability zones. I'm selecting all the availability zones because I don't know in which availability zone I created my server. That's the reason I'm selecting all of them for now. And the security groups here, you can create any security group, but let me go for the second security group. Okay, let me go for, okay, usually what we will do is ports that whatever the ports that we open for the server, the same ports we will open for this load balancer also. So either we can create a new security group or otherwise we can go for the existing security group. For now, I am going with launch wizard 2. Okay, for now I'll be going with launch wizard 2. Otherwise, we can also go with the default security group also. That's not a problem. And here you can see this one. Okay, all these things, you know, you'll be configuring all these things for this one. I'm just creating a load balancer. I'll show you. Usually what I'm showing you is how we are creating a load balancer, how we'll be attaching. Sorry, I think we have not attached the EC2 instances. Go to the load balancer, select the load balancer. We need to attach the machines, right? We need to attach the EC target machines. Okay, go to target instances, manage target instances, select the instance, and you can save the changes. I'm just registering the instances with this load balancer. I'm attaching the instances to the load balancer. I've created a load balancer and attached the instances with the load balancer. Hope you understood what I'm doing now. All these things we have seen earlier, how to create instance and how to create load balancer, how to attach the instances to the load balancer. All these things we have seen earlier. Okay. So now what I will be doing is if I access with the load balancer URL, usually I don't need to go for accessing with the machine. If you see here, I'm going for EC2 instance, EC2 dashboard. Usually we can access the application with the help of public IP, right? We can access application with the help of public IP. I don't know if this can be accessible or not. And make sure that you open the ports. Go to security, security groups, edit the inbound rules, add all traffic. For now, I'm adding all traffic anywhere IPv4. Is the rule I'm opening, and I will be trying now if I'm able to access it or not. Yes, I can able to access the host name of the, okay. This is the response. I asked to print the host name. This is the response I'm getting from there, from this public IP. Usually, we can also access the same thing by using load balancer IP address. Go to the load balancer, and your load balancer will have the URL. Okay, once you create the load balancer, your load balancer will have the URL. This is the load balancer URL. I have attached my instance to the load balancer, so you can directly access with the help of load balancer URL also. Usually, we know how to attach our server, how to attach our EC2 instance to the load balancer also. This is how actually we attach. It will take some time. If not, we will see, okay, why we are not accessing. If all these things are done, if we have this setup ready, then we are going for this. We are going to attach the routing policies. We are going to attach the domain name. Let's see here. I'm going to a service called Route 53. Now we are going to a service called Route 53. We are going to a service called Route 53. Go to Route 53. This is for DNS, attaching the domain name to your IP and applying the routing policies. So I have some hosted zones here. Let me delete this hosted zone for now. I'll explain you, okay? So once you go to the Route 53, this is how the dashboard looks like. Go to the Route 53 service. Okay, just go to the Route 53 service. I have already registered something like here. I'm just deleting this one. It is asking to delete. Yes, I'm just deleting this one. Okay, please ignore all these things. But once you go to the Route 53 dashboard, okay, please go to the Route 53 service. This is how the dashboard looks like. This is how the dashboard looks like. The very first thing that we need to do here is we need to register the domain name. If you want to assign any domain name to your application, please register the domain name. How to register a domain name? You see on the left navigation, okay? The Route 53 service, the Route 53 dashboard. You can see here, we have domains. And the domains, we have registered domains. Go to the registered domains. If you go to the registered domains, it will show you what are all the domains that you have registered under this account. So far, we did not register any domain. What is the domain? I want to go for a domain called www.vamsicloud.com. I want to register this domain. I want to register this domain. I'm just checking like whether this domain is available or not. Yes, you can search for the, you please go to the registered domains, okay? Please go to the registered domains. Search for the domain, okay? I'm just searching for the domain, whether this domain is available or not. Can you see here? See, whatever the domain name that I am choosing, okay? Leave about www. We don't need to search for www. I'm just searching with vamsicloud.com. Let me show you if this particular one is available or not. vamsicloud.com is not available. vamsicloud.com is not available. You can go for the other domains. We have other domains like vamsicloud.net, vamsicloud.org, vamsicloud.io, vamsicloud.co. You can choose any other domain. Suppose, for example, if I'm selecting this one, if I'm going to choose this domain, I want this domain. I'll be choosing this domain and I will be purchasing this domain. How much I need to pay for this one? If I want to purchase this domain, how much I need to pay for this? 15 US dollars. What is the time duration that they'll be providing for this? For 1 year. I'll be purchasing this domain for 1 year. Okay, I'm selecting this. I'll be proceeding to checkout. I'll be going for the next. I'll be providing some contact information. Then I'll be providing for billing. Okay, I'll be giving the billing details. All these things I'll be submit so that my domain name will be registered. This is how we register the domain name in the AWS. For now, we are not registering any domain name. You also no need to register the domain name. I'm just showing you like how can we register the domain name in the AWS cloud. If you want to register the domain name, please go to, okay, please go to register domains. You search for the domain name, what you would like to. For example, I'm going to build a website, okay. I'm going to, I'm going to build Twitter, okay. I'm going to build an application called Twitter. I would like to choose the domain called twitter.com. I'll be searching for that. Anyhow, twitter.com is not available. Why? Because it's already been chosen. Please go with the other one, twitter.systems, twitter.solutions. You can choose the other domain name like twitter.solutions. Please select the one, proceed to checkout. You can go for the next. You need to pay 13 US dollars. It is clearly showing how much you need to pay, 13 US dollars per year. That's it. After adding all the contact details, and if you go for review and submit this, it will be asked. It will be asking you to pay the bill. Once you pay the bill, your domain will be registered. That's it. Once you pay the bill, your domain will be registered. That's it. Okay. So for now, we are not registering any domain. I'm just taking an example. Okay. Once your domain name is registered, what are all the domains that you have registered? You can see here. You can go to the registered domains and you can see here what are all the domains that you have registered. For now, we have not registered any domain. The domains are empty. Okay. For now, we have not registered any domain. The domains are empty. So the next thing, what is the next thing that we will be doing? We will be going for hosted zones. So the very first thing that you need, once you have the domain name ready, please go to the hosted zones. Consider the domain name that I have chosen is swampscloud.com. Okay. I'm going to create a hosted zone first. Once you have the domain name ready, we'll be going for hosted zones. We'll be creating a hosted zone here in the AWS cloud. Okay. So what is a hosted zone? So you need to provide your domain name. This is the domain name that you would like to route your traffic. swampscloud.com is the domain name that you would like to use. This is the domain name I have already registered, and I'm going to create a hosted zone with the help of the same domain name. I'm going to create a hosted zone with the help of the same domain name. I'm coming down. I'll be creating. It is asking whether you would like to create a public hosted zone or private hosted zone. Public in the sense the traffic will be routed on the internet. Private means the traffic is routed within the Amazon VPC. Within the organization, if you want to use, okay, within the Amazon VPC, if you want to use, you can go for private. Public means the traffic will be routed through the internet. The traffic can be routed through the internet. Usually we choose public hosted. Okay, if based on the nature of the application, we choose the public hosted zone or private hosted zone, but I am choosing public hosted zone for now. Nothing I'm doing, I'm just creating a hosted zone. When we will create the hosted zone, if we have the domain name ready, and if I want to route the traffic through this domain name, my traffic, okay, if anyone access my application with this domain name, so that if so that the application will get the hits, it reaches to the IP address, right? That time only I will create the hosted zone. I have my application ready. I am able to access my application with the help of public IP. That time you need to go all and you need to do all these things. Create a domain name and register the domain name and go for the hosted zone. Create a hosted zone. Public hosted zone I'm doing. You know the difference, understood the difference between public hosted zone and private hosted zone. I'm just creating a hosted zone. That's it. Any questions? Okay, I just created a hosted zone. You see here, I go to the hosted zones and see if you are able to see anything here. I am created a hosted zone which is called omccloud.com, and the type of the hosted zone is public. That's it. Okay. And if you open this hosted zone, just click on the hosted zone and you will see two records. You see here, I just opened the hosted zone. I am able to see two records here. One is with the NS, the other one is SOA. Okay, NS stands for name server. SOA stands for state of authority. These are the default records that will be created when you create a hosted zone. Okay, these two are the default records. Name server record and state of authority. You'll understand what is the name server record and state of authority. But remember, these two are the default records that will be created once you create a hosted zone. And now, these are the default records. If you want to integrate your application with the domain name, if you want to attach, if you want to attach your application with the domain name, usually we will be creating one more record. Please create one more record. So we need to understand here. I just created a hosted zone. Once I created a hosted zone with the name of this particular domain name, usually two records will be created. These are the default records that usually these are the default records that usually be created. So these are the two default records that were created usually. NS and SOA. NS stands for name server. SOA stands for state of authority. And if you want to integrate your application, you need to create one more record. Just click on create a record. And you need to provide, okay, you need to see these are the options that you need to select. So this is this is how we are going to select the record type. Okay, the record type usually, usually the record type should be routing the traffic to IPv4 addresses and some AWS resources. Okay. So for now, I am keeping, there are many options here. Usually, if you want to route your traffic through the domain name to your application, usually go with route traffic to the IPv4 addresses and some AWS resources. Route the traffic to IPv4 addresses and AWS resources. This is the record type that we will choose. And we'll go for this option. We will enable alias option. See here, directly you can provide the IP address. You can see here. This is the IP address, right? Got it? This is the IP address. You can directly go for the IP address, providing the IP address. It is clearly showing that by default, how it is showing. This is the IP address. Okay. So you can provide the IP address like this. This is how I am providing my IP address. I'm going for creating the record. What is the routing policy that I'm selecting here? You can see here what I'm doing here. I'm selecting the record type as I'm creating a record. You need to create a record for attaching your domain name to the IP address so that the request will goes to your domain name. So that domain, the DNS server will convert that into IP address so that the public can able to access your application from this particular server. I'm just going for creating a record. Before you create the record, you must see like what routing policy you are providing. Routing policy we are using here is simple routing policy. What is simple routing policy? Just attaching the domain name to your IP address. That's it. Attaching this domain name to your IP address. That's it. Very simple. Simple routing policy. I'm just creating a record. Otherwise, you see, if you are not using a load balancer, if you are directly attach your IP address to this one, yes, we can do like this. Suppose, for example, if you are attaching a load balancer, go for alias option. Go for alias option. And one thing I would like to tell you, I don't have charger for now. So only 9% remaining. Suppose if it got shut down, we'll continue tomorrow. Let's discuss until it gets shut down. Okay. For your information. So here we see, I'm just enabling. Suppose if you want to directly attach the IP address, yes, you can directly give the IP address over here. But suppose in our scenario, what I am doing, I have my application running and I have attached my load balancer. Assume that. Okay, I have attached my load balancer. Maybe because of I'm not able to access with the help of load balancer URL because I need to go for some verify these security groups and all. Okay. So in my case, I'm also using the load balancer. If I'm using the load balancer, you can go for alias option. Okay. Go for routing the endpoint here. You need to choose. You are going to route your traffic to the load balancer URL. In the previous case, if I'm going for the previous case, I'm directly providing the IP address so that my traffic will be diverted to the IP address. In case if I'm using load balancer, I will go for enabling this alias option so that I'll be getting more options here. I'll choose alias to the application and classic load balancer. I'll be choosing alias to application and classic load balancer region. For example, if my load balancer is in the Mumbai region, please go for it. Mumbai region. And if you select the load balancer, usually if you have already created a load balancer in Mumbai region, it will show you this is the load balancer URL in the Mumbai region. What I'm doing is I'm attaching my domain name to this load balancer URL. Earlier, I have earlier I tried to attach this domain name to my IP address. Now I'm trying to attach this domain name to my load balancer URL. This is what I'm doing. So what is the routing policy I'm using? Simple routing policy. That's it. I'm going to create a record. That's it. This is how actually we have not created any domain. I didn't register the domain like vamsicloud.com. If I register the domain, you can try. If you want, you can practice. But for practicing purpose, you don't need to register the domain name by paying some amount. So you can practice like this, okay? Very simple. Attaching the domain name to the IP address or load balance URL is very simple by using the simple routing policy. What is the routing policy that we have seen now? The routing policy that we have used is what? The routing policy that we have used is what? Simple. This is the routing policy. Leave about these two records. You don't need to worry about these two records and don't delete these two records, okay? Okay, these two records will says like one record will give us the name server information. These are the four servers responsible for uh, responsible for converting your IP address to domain name to IP address. Okay, so you know what is this NS? NS stands for name server. These four servers it is clearly showing here. Whatever the four things here it is showing, right? All these things are responsible. These are the name servers. These name servers are responsible for converting your domain name to IP address or IP address to domain name. Not only that, if you are using load balancer, these four servers are responsible for converting your domain name to the load balance URL, load balance URL to domain name, vice versa. Okay. So, and the state of authority. The state of authority is a very simple thing. The state of authority is a record, another record which tells us in which region, okay, in which region that your DNS, all these things are being maintained. The information, okay, the basic region, the basic details will be maintained at SOA record, and NS record will give you what are all the servers that are being handled your DNS resolution queries. You know what is DNS resolution?